Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitzmonk TV here, aka G-Lorne33. I'm back with another video on the channel for you guys today. And today, we're going to be talking Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. There's been a lot of talk about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero in the community as of late. And a lot of that conversation is centered around if the game is dead or not. The game, depending on when you guys are watching this video, the game has been out for a little over a month now, and there's already people claiming that the game is dead, etc., etc., all this nonsense, And IGN recently put out an article that showed that 90% of the player base of Sparking Zero from when the game first came out, right, have already stopped playing the game. So only about 10% of that player base is remaining. One quick note on that is that data was only given for Steam players, right? That was not including PS5 or, Xbox Series X players. But, I won the bet we had the data for PS5 and Xbox players as well. You might see something similar to that regard, right? I wouldn't think maybe not 90%, but, a pretty high number, right? So we're going to be discussing a little bit about Sparking Zero, the game, some of the problems with the game, and some of the great things with the game, and also comparing it to some other games and why some people, have stopped playing Sparking Zero. And I think there's reasons for that. The first thing I will say is Sparking Zero is an amazing game. All right, it's probably my favorite Dragon Ball game of all time, outside of course, Budokai Tenkaichi 3 and probably Xenoverse. That's just my opinion, right? But and I'll be giving a little bit of my opinion, but I kind of want to do this video based off the viewpoint of other players, and I disagree with the thoughts of other players, so I just wanted to make that clear. But the first thing I want to say is, of course, Sparking Zero is an amazing game. Right, it's an amazing game. It's been well worth the 17 years we had to wait to get this game from Budokai Tenkaichi 3 when it released in 2007. Right. First thing I want to say, one, this is an anime game. I'll say that again. This is an anime game. This tends to happen with almost any anime game. Right. This is not like NBA 2K or Madden or Call of Duty, where you're getting new content literally every couple of weeks because they have to make sure they maintain their player base for an entire year because they know that the next year around the same time you're getting a new version of that game, right? Like NBA 2K24, 1 year later you're getting 2K25. Same thing with Madden, same thing with Call of Duty, etc., right? With an anime game, and this happens with almost any new game, right? Spider-Man 2, take any popular game that doesn't get released on a yearly basis. Usually for the first couple weeks, a lot of people are playing it because, they pre-ordered it. It's a new game, right? And then once people have, played through the story mode, played through, the offline modes and a little bit of online modes, unless, they love the game so much where they're playing it almost all the time or playing it on a recurring basis, they're going to stop playing after a while. And then they'll come back to the game later on when they're either bored or when new content drops for the game. And then that's usually the way the cycle goes. So this is was supposed to happen with Sparking Zero. Outside of, the content creators that make content for this game, all the time, like Siriax, Rhymestyle, etc. Or the people that love this game so much that they're playing it all the time, right? If you're a casual player, after a while, yes, you're not going to play the game anymore just because you're going to move on to something else. Sparking Zero is not the only game out there in the world, right? You have NBA 2. There's so many different games, for people to play. So this was natural to happen, especially when we know Sparking Zero's DLC is not coming out till, early next year in January. Right, we're only going to be getting Sparking Zero DLC, probably like once a quarter, once a season. That's the way it is with most anime games. You're not getting new content for the game that often, so this is natural. All right, but like I said, it is fair to mention that there are some problems with Sparking Zero. Sparking Zero is not a perfect game. Almost no game is a perfect game, and especially when Sparking Zero came out, we all loved it. Right? But of course, there's a honeymoon phase, and after a couple of weeks, people started noticing, some problems with the game, and, it's natural for people to make their opinions known. I think some of the stuff I've seen on social media is pretty stupid, right? But I do think there are some, very fair critiques of the game. And of course, like I said, depending on when you guys are watching this, we do have a patch that's going to be coming out for Sparking Zero in the coming weeks, right? Which will address some of these things, right? But like I said, one thing that is great is that we are getting updates all the time, right? So that the developers are continuously, updating the game. For when Budokai Tenkaichi 3 came out back in '07, it wasn't like that. There wasn't like this. This was right around the time, right before Xbox Live and PlayStation Network and online gaming became popular, right? So there was no way to really patch the game. The way the game came out was the way the game was. So there was, back then, if you had complaints about the game, there was nothing you could really do because there was no way for the developers to actually patch the game. Now in 2024, you can do that, right? So the fact that this game will be getting consistent updates for years to come is good to know, so that the game will continue to be able to address different problems as time goes on, right? And we've seen that with other Dragon Ball games that have been out for a while, Xenoverse 2, Fighters, Kakarot, etc., etc. But like I said, these are some of the problems I've noticed with the game, and of course some I've noticed in the community. Some I agree with, some I don't. All right, but of course, ranked online. This is of course probably the biggest thing, with this game, because of course you're gonna finish episode battle, right? I'm gonna talk about the offline modes in just a sec, but right, for the most part, when we first got the game, I played episode battle. And then of course, once we finished that, we went into online, where that's where majority of players are going to spend their time. Some may prefer to spend their time with custom battles or whatever, but most people, that are playing this game after the episode, after playing through the story mode, are playing online. No matter if it's a player match, DP battle, ranked singles, whatever, right? One of the biggest things is of course online disconnections, and I've dealt with this on my own. I think we've all dealt with this if you play this game online. People that choose to disconnect from matches, right, just because they lose and they don't want to mess up their record. And, it is, in my opinion, I wish when, they first made this game, they should have realized that, something like this was going to happen, right? The fact that you could leave a match right before you lose and not be penalized, no matter if that's from being potentially banned online for a certain amount of time, or getting an automatic loss to your record and a win being given to the person who you disconnected from, is ridiculous. The fact that they don't have that in the game is ridiculous, and I do think that will be patched. But that is something that's been really, really frustrating. It's one of the things, like when I go online, if um, if I get someone's health bar all the way down to like their last health bar, I almost sometimes will not even use an ultimate, just because like I'm afraid that they're going to disconnect on purpose, and I'm not going to get the dub for that match because I'm trying to rank up. I want to get the S rank and Z rank, etc. So that is definitely something I've noticed. Which is a huge problem, but I do think that will get addressed, right? Cheese players, of course, whenever you have a game like this, there's always going to be different ways to cheese, with cheesy moods or cheesy players, techniques, etc. Of course, the after image strike is probably the biggest thing. Of course, there's like counters for almost all of these things, but if you don't know how to play the game that well, right, you're gonna you'll run into your fair share of cheesers with the after image strike. No matter if it's Super Saiyan Vegetos, right? Or if you're playing DP battles, Master Rossi, Videl, right? Yajirobe with the Sensu Beans, even though they patched him, a couple weeks ago, you'll still you run into some Yajirobe cheesers, but of course they made it a little bit more difficult to actually cheese with him. The androids, of course, are cheese because the way they, drain your health and your ki very, very quickly. Of course, a lot of online matches end up being Vanish battles, where basically, they end with whoever has the highest amount of ki wins, just because, key Vanish battles are very easy to do. The first couple times you may do them in online, it's kind of cool because it feels like Dragon Ball. And then after, the fourth or fifth time, it just gets annoying because they happen so much, especially since you run into a lot of the same players online, you know. So there's been a lot of complaint about that. It doesn't bother me that much, but it is something I notice. Skill count, right? Of course, the max skill count you can have is 6, and it does. The skill count does tend to rise very, very quickly. But I don't have a problem with it, to be honest. There's some people that do, just because for the most part, a lot of players that that go into instant sparking, it only costs like 3 skill count, or it costs 2 skill count for a revenge counter or things like that. Honestly, I don't have much of a problem with that, with the skill count. But there's some people saying like the skill count needs to be reduced slightly, or they need to make the skill count for certain moves higher. I could see that. Like if you want to make Vegeto's after image strike 4 or 5 skill count, instead of 3, I understand that. Because like if you decide to make Master Rosie's or Videl's after image strike 5 skill count, it makes them a little less viable as a character, And I know the developers want people playing with many characters as possible, especially the characters that are not as strong. So that's something you gotta take into consideration, right? If you choose to make Vegeto's skill count higher, costs more, right? His after image strike costs more skill count. Then do you do that for other characters, or do you just do it for Vegito, right? Um, of course, key sickness, right? That's a feature that was in Budokai Tenkaichi 3. So like after you used, your after you used into once you went into sparking mode or max power mode, right? It would take a little bit longer to charge your key back up, before you could go back into sparking mode, right? That feature is not in Sparking Zero. So I do think that's something that they should add, which would stop people going into instant sparking all the time, or you just make instant sparking cost a little bit more. But remember, there's a lot of characters. I think almost the majority of characters have an instant spark in this game, so they have to consider what they want to do with that, right? Do they want instant spark to cost more for all the characters, or do you just want to add key sickness so it's fair for all players? You know, but like I said, most of these things can be addressed. Some people are not playing the game because they're sick of it. But like I said, most of this stuff can be addressed in patches. Like I said, when we get the new patch here in a couple weeks, as we enter December, it'll be interesting to see how much is addressed. I think a lot will be addressed, right? If I'm being honest, most of this stuff being addressed won't bring back the 90% of people that have stopped playing the game. Yeah, I think it's almost impossible to bring 90% of people back. I think if you can bring back, like, I don't know, 15 to 20, 25% of the people that played this game in the first couple weeks when the game came out, that's when you're doing good work. Because like at the end of the day, this is an anime game. This is not a game that people are going to be playing all the time. Especially when there's tons of other games out there, especially in the Dragon Ball game community. We got to remember, in the Dragon Ball game community, we are spoiled. We get a new Dragon Ball game almost every year, right? And yes, I'm talking about mobile games. You get Legends, Dokkan Battle, the multi project that they're working on. And then you get into the console games, Fighter Z, Breakers, Xenoverse 2, Kakarot, Sparking Zero, right? That's like 7, 8 games right there, And so no matter what kind of Dragon Ball fan you are or what kind of gamer you are, there's pretty much a Dragon Ball game out there for you. No matter if you want arena fighters or if you like 2D fighters, or if you like mobile games, there's a different Dragon Ball game for everybody, right? So it's almost going to be impossible to bring back all those players just because of the type of game that this is. Okay? But I want to talk about the offline modes, right? Because that's where I think is, the biggest reason why there's not many people playing this game as when the game first came out, right? I think the developers didn't realize how important offline modes can be for a game like this. Because of course, Sparking Zero is not a hard game to play. Depending on if you're playing on standard or classic controls, it's not a super hard game to understand. Of course, when you play online, especially once you get out of like the D and C ranks, right? Once you get the B rank, you need to know how to play the game at a decent level if you want to rank up. And of course, once you get the A rank, S rank, that's where you're playing a lot of really good players, right? And the Z rank players are, supposed to be the best players in the game. But um but of course, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are not going to be that good at rank mode, right? And of course, you can play player match where you don't have to worry about, ranks and all that. You could just play online with people, just have fun, and not have to worry about, ranking up or down. Of course, someone like me, I want to be in the S rank, Z rank category at some point, but everyone's different. Um, with the offline modes, right? Um, I think one thing that they could have done better is adding more offline content. Because of course the episode battle will take you some time to get through, right? Depending on how fast you play through, it might last you a couple of days or even a week, depending on your personal schedule, right? The episode battle has tons of content in it. But once you've done all the what ifs and all that, you're probably not going to replay the episode battle after that. You're probably, you may go back every once in a while, just to see a cutscene or whatever. But, once you've done the episode battle once, that's probably it. Custom battle is, of course, a great mode. It's just like the WWE, it's like the WWE storytelling, or what's it called? The make a storyline mode that they had in the WWE games, where you can make your own custom battles, your own story, your own raid boss, whatever. But some people don't want to sit there and spend hours making their own types of stories or whatever. And some people don't want to play custom battles for whatever reason. And then outside of that, the only other single player modes you have are, offline tournaments or, going up against the CPU, which, after a while, you may not want to do and you're just going to, play online. But, like, the thing about it is there's not a lot of offline modes. To me, like, I don't really have a problem with that because, like I said, I spend most of my time playing online. But for some people that may not want to play online, not having that single player content, that offline content kind of hurts. This is where I want to bring up Xenoverse, all right? One of the best things about Xenoverse, like I said earlier, is one of my favorite Dragon Ball games. But one of the things about Xenoverse that they did so good is Xenoverse 2 has been out for nearly a decade now, and they're still adding content to it. Not only does Xenoverse 2, they constantly are adding content to it, but the way they have it is there is an amazing balance of online and offline content. Right, so even like for me, for example, if I'm really really bored and I don't want to play like online in Xenoverse 2, there's tons of things I could still do offline even now, even though I've beaten the game. I don't know how many times I've beaten Xenoverse 2. Maybe like 4 or 5 times if I'm being honest. Because I remember when it came out originally on the Xbox One. Then, of course, I beat it again on PS4. Then I got it on PS5, etc. and PC. So I've played the Xenoverse story mode so many times. And I have no problem with that. I love Xenoverse's story mode. But there's tons of offline content in Xenoverse 2 that if players don't want to play online, they still have a reason to play the game. For example, the biggest thing is, I would say, parallel quests, right? There's close to 200 parallel quests in Xenoverse 2 at this point, if you include all the ones they've added in DLCs, right? And those parallel quests you could do online and offline. Most are, challenging enough where they'll give you a little bit of a challenge, but you can do it online. You can do it offline. Right? If you want to make it easier on yourself, you can go online with some friends or randoms, right, and do parallel quests. But, like I said, it's, to the point where you can do parallel quests offline if you prefer. Plus, there's a bonus with parallel quests. That's how you gain certain moves and certain costumes and skills for your CACs. So there's a reward for doing the parallel quest. Plus, with the RNG drop, you're not guaranteed to get a costume or a move every single time with the parallel quest, so it could take you a while. You know what I mean? So if you really want to move, you're gonna play the parallel quest as many times as it takes to get that move or costume that you want, right? Plus, if you don't want to do parallel quests, there's tons of other things like expert missions and raid battles, right? There's also a card game in the game, the Hero Coliseum. I played it a little bit when it first came out a couple years ago. I haven't touched it since. It's not really my cup of tea. Plus, if I really want to play a card game, I would just go play Dragon Ball Legends. But there's some people that do really enjoy the Hero Coliseum, right? Plus, the replayability of the story mode. We talked about it with Sparking Zero. Once you finish the episode battle, you're probably not playing it again, right? But um with the but with Xenoverse's story mode, right, you can create your own CAC, and you can create different CACs, like a strike-based character, a key blast character, or a balance character, right? You want to make a Saiyan, or a Namekian, or a Majin, or an Earthling, or a Frieza race character, etc. Right? One of the quickest ways to rank that character up is just to play the story mode again, and it's a pretty easy story mode. So and there is ways to make that story mode easier for you. You can go rank up by going talking to the guy in Kanton City by using Zenny and TP medals to rank your character up, or of course you can go play parallel quests that you've already beaten with your other CACs and rank your character up pretty easily to make story mode easier for you, so you can rank that character up quickly. So there's reasons to keep playing Xenoverse 2 story mode over and over again. Plus, with all the DLCs, they've added tons of additional story mode content. With almost every single DLC, not only are you getting new characters, new parallel quests, right? But you're also getting additional story mode content. So there's a reason, to go back and play the game. So they're always adding tons of single player content. Imagine someone that just got Xenoverse 2, like today. Outside of the story mode, there is still so much story mode content to play outside of the main story that there is literally hours and hours of additional playtime for you to play and enjoy the game. And you're going to get cool rewards. You can be able to, like rank up your character and, really have fun with it. Right? And that's the thing. The reason why I brought up Xenoverse is not to talk about their online scene, but their offline scene. Right? Because Xenoverse 2's offline scene, is one of the reason why the game is still so successful. All right, with the way it is, with Sparking Zero, outside of the episode battle and the custom battles, right? There's not much. There's not much for someone that prefers single player content to do. And that's the thing. Of course, they put so much love and care into the online scene, right? Which is where most players are gonna play. But for those that may not be good, at the game online, or for those that don't want to deal with sweats online and just want to enjoy the game offline a little bit, there's not much for them to do outside of the episode battle or custom battle. So one thing I think Sparking Zero will have to address, and hopefully they do address with future DLCs, of course, the patches, which we talk about, right? The game is going to be getting updated for years to come, so they'll be able to address problems online. But the DLC, which adding characters like Beast Gohan and Orange Piccolo, Cell Max, the Gammas, the characters from Dragon Ball Daima, and of course, additional characters they'll add in the years to come. Because look, Xenoverse is still adding characters in their DLCs, so they'll do the same thing in Sparking Zero, right? They'll add characters from Budokai Tenkaichi 3 that didn't make it into the base roster of Sparking Zero, like I expect Super 17 and Demon King Piccolo and all the Grade 8 Goku. I expect these characters to be put in Sparking Zero at some point. So people will come back to the game just to try out those new characters, right? And to see what else that they changed with the patches. But if they add new single player content in the Sparking Zero, like maybe they add new episode battles, if they want to do a Gohan or a Piccolo episode battle from the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie, right? If they want to add a new Goku episode battle based around Dragon Ball Daima and things like that, people will come back and play that. Plus, in Budokai Tenkaichi 3, they had they had like a challenge mode, right? Which, where you would have different challenges, or you would, have different play these special battles on different stages with different wind conditions, right? And like different towers that you could climb, facing different enemies. If they add different other single player modes, that will bring people back because it'll give them something to do and something fun to play, and a challenge to give themselves, right? So I think that's the biggest thing that the developers will need to address if they want to bring back more players. I will say it again: you're not going to bring back the 90% of people that have stopped playing the game. That's literally impossible. Like I said, that was gonna happen. This is an anime game, right? This is not like the other games where you get a new NBA 2K every single year. This is meant to happen. People are gonna move on to something else. You know what I mean? What you should be looking to do is bring back 10, 15, 20% of the people that stop playing the game. And you want to do that with the DLCs that you drop. And the patches that you add. And hopefully with those new story mode, or with those new DLCs, if you're adding single player content, it's gonna give people something to do if they don't want to go online, and that's what's gonna have them play the game. The custom battles, those are gonna help keep playing the game for years to come, because as people master how to make custom battles, it's gonna allow people that really love this game that play these cool custom battles and raids that are challenging. But for people that don't want to play custom battles, you need to have modes in there that's going to give them something to do and a reason to play the game if they don't want to play online. And those are the biggest things, I think, that will keep Sparking Zero playable for years and years to come. There's always hardcore fans like me are always going to play Sparking Zero because it's that great a game. This is a great game, right? You're always going to have people in the community that are, if we're being honest, bitching and moaning, because that's the way it is. It's 2024. Everybody has a social media account, so everyone's going to bitch and moan about whatever, right? At the end of the day, Sparking Zero is a great game, right? And of course, there are things that need to be addressed because it will never be perfect, But of course, as long as the developers are taking steps to address some of those things, that need to be addressed, like I know they will, right? That's going to make, most people happy at the end of the day. It's impossible to satisfy everybody because everybody loves to complain. It's that type of society. We're all unique. We're all different, right? But at the end of the day, this is a great game that just needs some minor tweaks and stuff like the online mode, all right? But if you add more single-player content, right, that's going to bring people back that don't want to play online. And it'll be interesting to see how they address this. But at the end of the day, Sparking Zero is a great game, and it will continue to be a great game for years to come. But no, Sparking Zero is nowhere close to dead. Don't let anybody that tells you otherwise fool you. The game is not dead at all. It's just a game that needs to be updated, just like any other game that's been made in the history of the world. But that's about it. Let me know in the comment section your guys' thoughts. What's your guys' thoughts? Sparky Zero has now been out for about a little over a month now. So let me know your guys' thoughts. You guys still playing the game, or are you guys only playing it here or there? Have you guys stopped playing completely? Let me know your reasons why and things you hope that get addressed in the future. If there's things that I didn't mention in this video, let me know in the comment section down below. I want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Of course, keep it respectful, but like I said, I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are on Sparking Zero. Outside that, leave a like on this video if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Hit the bell next to my name, Fitzmonk TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, guys. Peace.